Hey, what's up? Hello everybody, we are back with another video. Today's video I am excited for, but also a little bit nervous. This has been something that I've wanted to do for a while, but I really felt like today was the day. For the past week or so, I've just felt like I'm supposed to make this video. So today I will be sharing my testimony. And for those of you that don't know, my husband and I are Christians. We are very faith-oriented, faith-based. That's actually how we met. So I just figured I would sit down and share my testimony. I have not really done this ever. I've only shared my testimony with like a few people, like the full thing. But I just felt like God was telling me to film this. And so here we are. I want to say, to start out, like, I want this video to come from a place of help and love. And so I just really feel like I'm supposed to share this. And if you don't believe this, that's fine. Like, I'm not expecting everyone to have the same beliefs as me. But I just feel like I'm supposed to share this. So to start this video, I just want to share like what my beliefs are, because that obviously has a big part of, like, that's a big part of my testimony. So I do believe in Jesus. I believe that he died for our sins. I believe that we can't do anything like good works or pay money to get into heaven. It's definitely a relationship with Jesus. Sorry, my hair is like super crazy, but sometimes it just is what it is. So yeah, I believe that Jesus died to save us and to have a relationship with us, and so we can have intimacy with God. And yeah, that is my belief. We'll just get right into it. So I was born and raised in a Christian home. Both of my parents are pastors, and I have always grown up that way. So I knew who Jesus was. I knew who God was from a very young age. And I don't remember the age that I like accepted Jesus into my life. I just remember that I was in children's church one day, and I was super young. I was probably like 6 or 8. I'm not really sure. Yeah, so I was probably like 6 or 8, and I just remember that I was in kids' church, and I knew that Jesus was real, and I knew that I wanted him in my life. And so right then I asked him to be a part of my life. I gave my life to Jesus, and so I kind of just like always knew that I believed in Jesus. Yeah, so Jesus was always a part of my life from like age 8 to probably 15, I want to say. But later on, I definitely struggled with my faith. I wasn't very open. Like, everyone knew I was a pastor's kid, and everyone knew I believed in Jesus, but some of my lifestyle just did not line up with that growing up. Probably around freshman year of high school, honestly, I really struggled with sharing my faith and like really being committed to my faith. And then my sophomore year of high school, my family moved from Florida to New York, and that was kind of like world shattering for me. So I completely walked away from my faith. I did not have a relationship with Jesus at that point. I was like really, really upset that I was moving, because a sophomore in high school, like, you already have all your friends. I literally grew up from elementary school to my freshman year of high school with the same friends. And so I was like super, super devastated when my parents told me we were moving, and I did not want to. And so I kind of blamed them and God, because my dad was a pastor. He got another job in New York as a pastor. So I definitely like did not want anything to do with God at that point, because I thought it was like going to ruin my whole life that I was moving to New York. And so I just completely walked away from age like 15 or 16 to probably 17 or 18. So like 3 or 4 years, I want to say, I just completely did not have a relationship with Jesus. I was still going to church because my parents made me. I don't know. I definitely went to church every Sunday because, yeah, my parents made me because I was still under their roof. But I definitely just did not have a relationship with the Lord. I sang on the worship team at church from the age of like 10 all the way up until now. Like, I'm still singing on the worship team. But my parents, like, obviously they knew something was up, but I never really told them that I, like, just didn't have a relationship with God. They probably assumed, but I don't know if my dad really did, so that's why he still made me sing on the worship team. But whatever. So when I moved to New York, I just completely decided that I was not going to be, like, the pastor's kid anymore, because everyone in Florida knew that I was a pastor's kid, so they all knew about my faith. But I decided that I wasn't going to be like the pastor's kid anymore, so I didn't really tell anyone what my parents did for a while, actually. And I kind of just became like really isolated, really alone. I didn't really do much. I dealt with depression and anxiety for probably 2 of those years I dealt with depression and anxiety. And it was just like the worst time of my life. I started partying, and it was just like, it was terrible. I made really, really bad decisions at that point in my life. And it's just not something that I'm obviously proud of. But going through that, like, so after high school, I went to community college for about a year. And in that year, I was trying to decide my major, and I still wasn't like really serving the Lord. I still really didn't have a relationship with Jesus. And so I was trying to decide what career path I was going to choose. I've always been drawn towards counseling, nursing, and teaching, like education. So I was trying to decide, but I faced really, really bad anxiety because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I feel like a lot of people have this struggle, like, you get right out of high school and everyone's like, oh, what are you going to do? And you have to make a decision like right then. And so I like really struggled with this for the whole year. When I was going to community college, my major was in psychology, but I was still like really back and forth with what I actually wanted to do. And at that time, I was working at a doctor's office. And this is actually so crazy. So it was the end of my first year in community college. And I was trying to decide like what my major was actually going to be, because at this point I was back and forth between psychology and education. And so I was just sitting in the doctor's office again. Like, at this point I didn't really have a relationship with Jesus. But it was this summer. It was like a couple weeks before we were going to go back to school. And I just heard the Lord say to me, when are you going to do what I actually have for you? And in that moment, I like knew exactly what I had to do. And it's so crazy to think that even like when I didn't have a relationship with Jesus, like he was still talking to me. And it's just crazy how even like we can go so far from the Lord. And, like, I was really, really far. Like, I'm not going to say that I hated God, because I still believed there was a God, but I didn't really want anything to do with him at all. And even when I, like, was running so far from God, he still met me, and he still, like, came after me right in my workplace. Like, it was the craziest thing. So as soon as he said that to me, as soon as I heard that, like, what are you going to do when are you going to do what I have for you? I knew that like I had to recommit my life to Jesus, and I knew that I had to go to Bible college. So that day I signed up for Bible college, and this was literally like a week or two before school was supposed to start. So admissions had already been closed, but I filled out the application, I sent it in, and I got accepted. And it's so crazy to think that, like, just the doors that God will open for you when you really give your whole life to Him is so crazy. From that point on, I, like, knew that I needed to have a relationship with God again. Backtrack to when I was younger, I knew that I was called. Sorry, I had to make sure my camera was still recording. But backtrack to when I was younger, at the age of like 10, I think, it might have been younger, but around that age, I knew that I was called to worship, and I knew that somehow I was going to be involved in the church, like in ministry, because both my parents were pastors. But because my parents were pastors, there were a lot of things that I went through that, like, I just didn't want my family to go through, because I do want kids eventually. And moving for me was, like, one of the hardest things that I've done. And I know that, like, yeah, moving for me was the hardest thing on me, just because, like, I was taken away from my friends, and, like, I felt like I just didn't have anything anymore. Like, I was, like, really stripped away. So when my parents did that to me, I, like, swore to myself that I would never do that, and that's when I decided I didn't want to be involved in church, like, at all. But sitting in that office when I heard God, like, I knew that's what I was supposed to do. So when I went to Bible college, I started in August, and in like that following February, I actually met my husband at the same Bible college. And so it's just crazy to think that, like, when you actually follow what God has for you, like, He really does give you the desires of your heart. Because at that point, like, I always wanted to get married. I always wanted to have a family and whatnot. I hadn't really dated anyone serious, like, ever. And so that was something that even when I was not saved, like, that's something that I was pretty serious about, was, like, not getting into a relationship unless I knew I was going to marry the person. And I stuck with it. And I really do think that's because of my faith. But, like, even when I wasn't saved, I was still practicing that. Like, I never dated anyone when I wasn't saved. So I think God protects us along the way, even when we don't realize it. Like, I wanted nothing to do with God, but He still guarded my heart in that way. And so in February, like, right after I started going to this Bible college, I met my husband, and then we started dating. I knew that he was the one for me. And yeah, in August that year, we got engaged, and in December of that year, we got married. And so, like, looking back, it's just so crazy to actually think about the things that happened over the course of my life. Like, I went from super passionate about God, like, as a child and even as a teenage, like, a preteen. And then my high school years, I, like, completely dropped off of the face of the earth. Like, I just, like, dug myself into a hole, and it was terrible. But then even after that, like, God restored all of that. And a couple months later, I met my husband. And so it's just super, super crazy. And there's, like, a ton of testimonies along the way. Like, even after me and my husband got married, we decided to come and move to Portland, which most of you guys know the story. Maybe I'll do a separate video for, like, how we actually ended up in Portland, because that's a huge testimony in itself. And maybe I'll have Nathan, like, maybe I'll do it with Nathan, so it's both of us. But yeah, that's just, like, another huge blessing and testimony that God, like, took us both through. But the one thing that I think is crazy about this story, about my testimony, is that in August, or maybe it was July, but I don't remember the exact date. But whenever it was August, because it was right before we were supposed to go to school. So, like, when I was sitting in the doctor's office again and heard God talk to me, I told Nathan that story, and it's crazy because he felt that day that he was supposed to pray for his future wife. Like, we looked up the dates, and he felt that day that he was supposed to pray for his future wife, and that's when God met me in my workplace, like that day. So it's just like crazy, mind-blowing how God will work, and even how God will place it on somebody's heart to pray for another person. Like, at that point, me and Nathan didn't know each other. Like, we had never met. I had never even seen him. I didn't know about him because I was in New York and he was in Oregon. But God, like, told him to pray for his wife. And in that same day, God spoke to me and told me to go to Bible college. And, like, that's why we met. And so it's just crazy what God will do for you when you actually put your trust and your faith in him. So that's kind of my testimony. I don't want this to be just like a story to you, but I also don't want you to feel like I'm pushing my faith on you. I just want you guys to know, like, I just want to be open about my faith because it's like the biggest thing to me and my husband. And so I just wanted to be like really open and share that with you. Like, I'm not trying to push faith on you, but on the other side, like, if you do have questions, or you do want to hear more about my story or about like Christianity in general or what I believe, definitely like reach out to me either on YouTube or on Instagram. You can follow my Instagram. But if you have questions or you just want to know more, like, definitely reach out to me. That's kind of why I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this YouTube channel. It's definitely for fun, and we're going to come out with new videos like separate from my channel. Me and Nathan are going to come out with videos, but I also wanted to do my channel because I really feel like I'm just supposed to be very open with my faith. And yeah, so if you guys do have questions, definitely reach out. Can't speak. If you do have questions, definitely reach out to me. Don't be afraid. But if you don't agree with me, I don't want this to be a hate channel. Like, I don't, obviously, like, that's inevitable, because if you don't agree with me, you're going to tell me. But my point in making this video is not to have arguments with people, but to really just share who I am, what I believe, and also, like, if you're in the same boat with me, then to encourage you, hopefully. So that is all that I have for this video. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe to my channel for more videos in the future, and also subscribe to Nathan and I's channel. I'll link it down below. If you want to hear our Portland testimony, I'll definitely share that, but just let me know down below. And I hope you guys have a good night or day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!